Hello, viewers. Welcome to Toad Live. And then Toad Live is all about stories and stories which are very exciting. So you can have the fantasies, you can have the romance. So I'd like you to just watch out for more and more of the stories. So stay tuned. We're coming up. Our story we have for today is what we've titled A Broken Dream. So this broken dream is about a guy called James. And then James he's coming from a very wealthy home. The parents were very, very rich. So this guy was still little by then, not too old, somewhere around the ages of 8, 9 years. Something unfortunate happened in his family, but he has been living very, very lavishly, enjoying life. So one time he went to stay with the grandmother just to have a little fun with his vacation. So on staying with his grandmother, the parents were lost in fire. Their whole house got burnt. James now had to stay entirely with his grandmother, which came up. Now, as he was with his grandmother, that was when the grandmother took care of him, his schooling, everything that he needed. But before that, too, James, the father, had a lot of property. And then this property was being seized because the father had gone for a loan from some loan sharks. Since now he's no more, payment is not coming. All that happened was that the properties was being seized because the amount that he went for was very, very huge. So they had seized everything from him. So James had nothing to gain actually. So the grandma raised him, took him to school, took care of him. But when he got to the ages of that was 15, and then unfortunately he also lost the grandma. So this grandma was being buried, and then life kept moving on for James. But from there, as he lost the grandma, he had to stay with the other relations. But it's like the other relations, the father, he is the breadwinner actually. So other relations were not much, into something much. They had nothing as much as the father. And then he wasn't also treated fairly because to them, when the father was wealthy, he wasn't bringing the money to their home. So they didn't treat him fairly. So James had to be out on the streets himself to just look for something to do for his life. So times got very, very difficult for him. But fortunately enough, he was being taken in by one grave digger, those people that work and then dig graves at the cemetery. So that was one of the works that the man was doing. And then he took in James. So James was with him. He taught him how to do the business as to digging grave. So he also became a grave digger. Time passed, and then now James had grown to become a grown man enough to take care of himself and then whatever that he needs. So what happened next was that James now, had proposed to the governor's daughter. Since through their friendship, feelings grew, and then they became fond of each other. So James proposed, and then the governor's daughter also accepted. So they were lovebirds. They used to go out, hang out. But whenever James goes to visit the daughter of the governor in the governor's house, it got to a time now he's being forced out, he's being thrown out. Sometimes he's not even allowed to see the lady, unless maybe the lady is around to just walk him in. Other than that, he's being thrown out of the house each and every time he tries going there. So little did he know that the governor, being a friend to the father, was the mastermind behind the parents' death. He had to do that then because they were fighting over some kind of business or they had some issues when it came to some business deals that they had. And then James' father was having majority of the profit. So he had to do what he also thought he had to do to just wipe him off. And then even the properties that were being seized, these loan sharks also had something to do with the governor. So just to mess up the life of everyone that surrounds James' father. So James got to know this, and then it became a rift between him and then the governor. To the extent that now he plotted that he will kill the governor, forgetting that he's in love with the governor's daughter. So the attempt failed by the girlfriend, that is the governor's daughter, coming in to see James pointing a gun at her father. James, upon seeing her, couldn't shoot, couldn't do anything, and then he had to just leave her because the lady now was broken, seeing James in such an act. So James had to drop the gun, follow the lady, and then talk her out. And then the lady also shut James out and then told him to just leave. She doesn't want to see. So the lady also shut James out and then told James that he should just leave and that she doesn't want to see James anymore. It's over between them. So James, he didn't want to understand something like that. So upon the aggression from the woman, James was able to walk out. He didn't talk much. He just walked out. But it wasn't easy for him because the girl was the first lover in his life. He has never received or had any lover like that in his life. And then, you know, with time, James being alone, he realized that this thing was eating him up and then decided to take the girl in by force because where persuasion fails, force is applied. So James was able to find his way since he has been going to the house. He knows his way around the house. So he was able to find his way into the governor's house and then kidnapped the lady. So kidnapped the lady and then took the lady to his graveyard. That is where he stayed also. Since he was a grave digger, they had a little apartment also there that he stays there. So being there with the lady, he had covered the lady's mouth, put some handkerchief in the lady's mouth just to prevent her from shouting. He later removed this handkerchief and then tried talking to the lady and then asked the lady, is this what we wanted for ourselves? Is this the dream that we had and we wanted to be a reality? So now why are you doing this? So the lady was just staring at James, but still scared because she didn't know what James is going to do to her. So she just started shouting for help. So James rushed and then had his hand covered on the lips of the lady. So this lady was trying to scream, trying to scream, and then James too had to put in much more force to cover and then prevent the scream. So without him paying attention to what was going on well, and then rather focusing on not making the noise, this lady was rather being suffocated, and then the governor's daughter passed away without him knowing. So when he realized the silence, he then checked and he realized that the lady was dead. So James, being a grave digger, he knows his job, he knows what to do. So he went and then dug a grave and then put the governor's daughter in there. So on him covering the body, he was almost done. And then police also just came in and then they saw him with a shovel. So seeing him with a shovel, not knowing the father had also realized that the daughter was missing from the house. So he had made a call already. And then the suspect that they had was James. That was the only suspect that they had because he's the only one that knew his way in and out of the house. So they came in to check, just checking to know whether he knows something about the whereabouts of the lady. So they came in and they met him with a shovel. So on meeting him with a shovel, they asked him like, "Where is the lady?" The lady is called Sarah. So they asked, "Where is Sarah?" And then this James just said he doesn't know where Sarah is since he's no more into business with Sarah, and then Sarah had already walked him out. So he doesn't know the whereabouts of Sarah. So they tried checking around, and then one of the policemen found that was a bracelet that belonged to Sarah on the floor and then asked, "Where from this?" So James was so scared that He just had to push the policeman from his way and then started running. So now all those policemen that were around just started chasing him, following him, telling him to stop else they'll shoot, telling him to stop else they'll shoot. But James still kept running for his life. But unfortunately for him, he was gunned down because they gave him the warnings and then James never listened. So he was gunned down. That was the end of the life of James. So now James actually lost everything. Everything. He lost from his parents. He lost even the wealth of his parents, losing the love of his life, and then also losing his own life to back the graves that he has been digging. So this is the end of the story. You just stay tuned for another episode.